Hello and welcome to Reach Out with Reach Council. Our October episode is hosted by Reach's coalition team. We'll go ahead and introduce ourselves. My name is Jennifer Hagland.
Hi, my name is Nikki Bowman.
Hi, my name is Ashley Vasquez.
Hey everyone, this is Emily Stuffelby.
Hi, and I'm Erica Vyers.
And today we bring you the topic of fentanyl and the newest way we're seeing it, which is called Rainbow Fentanyl. But first, Halloween is coming up, and what I'm really excited for the Skittles that the trick-or-treaters don't take out of my candy dish. I don't know what y'all are excited about, but that's really what I'm looking forward to on the day after Halloween, is getting into those Skittles.
I like the Reese's peanut butter cups when my kids go to bed. That's usually what I tend to get.
Do you take from what you gave out to trick-or-treaters, or do you actually go into their bags and get their Reese's?
For the kids' bags, we don't ever typically hand out candy because we've always lived in the country.
Got you.
So nobody comes to our house.
So that's your opportunity to get your Reese's. Nice.
Yeah.
And
I'm kind of looking forward to this year because we just moved to the country and we would get, Erica, you've been out there, like over 1,000 trick-or-treaters at our house, if not more, at our old house. So the kids are making us go back to the neighborhood and we're going to hang out with the neighbors. But for once, I won't be in charge of handing out candy. So I'm kind of excited about that.
The past few years, I've been handing out candy with my mother-in-law, but she kind of tricked me into, I end up being the front. Like, she's like, okay, Ashley, you got it. And she goes and sits down. But I'm like tempted as I'm waiting for the kids to come, because we kind of just hang out outside. I'm like snacking on the candy as they're coming, like in between kids.
One for you, one for me.
Yeah.
That's funny. I totally do the same. I've been the candy passer outer at my sister's house while they all go trick-or-treating because all my nieces and nephews are small. So yeah, I snack in between. And then at first, like last year, I would only give them a small handful because I didn't know how many they were going to get. And then realizing that they didn't have a lot in the neighborhood, I just started pouring the candy in their bags.
We literally will have lines down my driveway. Like we don't even get a break. Like it is crazy. And you have to just do one piece or we run out of candy every year.
I always, like when I started, I would be handing every kid like a handful because I'm like, oh, you're cute here.
Yeah.
Like I take so much and they're like, we're about to run out. Can you hand out a little less? And I'm like,
hey, I've got a question. What do y'all do when adults come to your door?
I'm one of those adults, so give it to me.
I mean, I'm not talking about like high schoolers because I think it's wonderful that high schoolers are doing something that's like, fun and they're not getting into trouble. But what about like a 25 or a 35-year-old?
I haven't had that
that's
happen,
weird.
but I
weird.
don't see myself being like, okay, you're too old for this. I would probably give them one piece.
It is so weird. Yeah, I know.
Nikki,
very awkward.
What'd you say, Jen?
what do you do?
Give them a weird look and give them their piece of candy, but
I think that's
super hard not to give the weird look because you're just like, what in the heck is going on? But yeah.
They get the gross candy, the Tootsie Rolls.
Yeah. That's what I need. Well, now I don't do it anymore, but that's what I should have done is had like a weird bowl. Give me some from this bowl. Here's your canned food item.
Yeah.
Here's your 6 slits.
That's funny. Erica, do you leave the Tootsie Rolls in your kids' bags? Is that like your least favorite? You mentioned Tootsie Rolls.
Yeah. At my house, nobody likes Tootsie Rolls, so they usually end up in the garbage.
Nice. Right.
I like the Tootsie Pops. I always search for those.
All right. So, all right. I guess we'll just move on.
Transition.
Yeah. Obvious transition. So Halloween candy. I feel like in the US for 364 days a year, we tell kids not to take candy from strangers. And then one day a year, we send our kids out to take all the candy from the strangers around us, which is crazy. And I think that is why maybe there's a lot of these like urban legendy vibes around Halloween and strangers like using drugs and other toxins to cause harm to trick-or-treaters. Like, okay, so I called it an urban legend, but that's not to say that we shouldn't check our kids' Halloween candy. Like, we definitely should, right? You never know what's going to happen. You really just never know. But I saw a headline in the news the other day, or just like recently, that said that authorities warn, it said, authorities warn parents about Rainbow Fentanyl ahead of Halloween. And for some reason that headline just like made my prevention brain just like a little frustrated, because I feel like based on what we know about fentanyl and just really drugs in general, trick-or-treating is not really where the risk is at. I'm kind of looking forward to talking about where the risk is at with fentanyl, but before
can I say something real fast? Just because you were talking about the fentanyl.
Yeah.
Did y'all see that the LAX airport or Los Angeles International Airport, they seized 12,000 fentanyl pills in the Skittles wrappers 4 days ago? I just saw that today, but I pulled it up. Is that not crazy? 12,000.
Is that how they were trying to get them through and they thought maybe colors?
They had them all in the candy and the wrappers and stuff.
Okay. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Do you think they would have ended up in kids' trick-or-treat?
I don't think so. To me, I'm thinking that is for their way to get it through.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, more of a guise to get it in.
So when I was doing like a deep dive into, I'll just get off on this tangent really quick. Is this like actually a thing? Like drugs and Halloween candy and stuff, or is it kind of like not such a thing? There was one time when like those wrapped up like hidden situation or whatever, like actually did make it into kids' Halloween baskets, but it was like somebody was trying to like get marijuana through the mail and they hid it in those fun size Snickers. but I
think it's always been a thing for parents to check. I remember, I'm older, so in the 80s we would go trick-or-treating, and I remember how cute my dad would be on the ground. He would have all of our candy laid out and he was looking to see if anything was tampered with. So I think it's always been on a parent's mind. That's just instinct for us to make sure that our kids are safe. But I can't remember what even spurred that for him to do that. I would have to ask him, but I don't know. I don't think there was a fentanyl craze in the 80s,
No, but it was other stuff. So by accident, a person, like an actual postal worker, like got a hold of this bag of Snickers from like the lost and found, kind of like couldn't get the package.
Oh, no.
And so he was like, oh, Halloween's coming up. Let me just take these Snickers and hand that out. This was like in the 70s, I think. Did I say that? But that by complete accident, these Snickers bars, quote unquote, ended up being given out for trick-or-treating. And that's kind of added to this like idea that strangers are giving out drugs over the years, though it was, Anyway, so that's interesting that they ended up in the Skittles wrappers.
Yeah, I saw that yesterday and I was like, that's interesting. So we're going to be talking about this.
Yeah. But and I guess by accident they could end up being handed out, but it would be like,
so it was Skittles, it was Whoppers, and it was Sweet Tarts.
Oh no. So by a weird like series of events, I guess you never know. But yeah. So Ashley, what is like fentanyl and kind of what is Rainbow Fentanyl? I feel like we sort of touched on what Rainbow Fentanyl is and its colors through the Skittles thing, but you want to just kind of give that explanation?
Yeah. So originally pharmaceutical fentanyl was just a synthetic opioid that was used to treat for severe pain. Typically, it was like advanced cancer pain. And it's actually 50 times stronger than heroin, 100 times more potent than morphine. So it's just a really strong pain relief. That was its original intentions. However, most recent cases of fentanyl related harm, overdose, and death in the United States have been linked to illegally made fentanyl, where it's sold through illegal drug markets, through like heroin and cocaine. And it's typically used without the user's knowledge to kind of bring about that high or euphoria. So when I was doing some research over it, I found that, like, particularly to teenagers, a CDC study showed that the overdose deaths due to fentanyl have actually tripled in teenagers over the past 2 years. And then before the past couple of years, it was typically packaged as a powder and sold as counterfeit heroin. So people thought that they were purchasing heroin, and then it turned out to be fentanyl. But then more recently, and this is where it's kind of connecting to the teenagers more, is that it's been pressed and made to look like prescription drugs. So they're thinking that they're taking a Xanax or Adderall or Percocet. And so illicit fentanyl has just become more prevalent among teenagers. And then I noticed, just like looking at the US as a whole, it's most common in the West, like particularly California. Obviously it's an issue everywhere, but I did think that it was interesting that they're finding the most issues in California. So
I wonder why that is.
Why California?
Mm-hmm.
Lots of ports, maybe.
Yeah.
Coastal. Yeah. That's a good question. We could look into that.
Yeah. I mean, I
thought that was interesting. Yeah, exactly. I was like, why California? Yeah. But
well, listeners, maybe y'all know.
Okay. So where are youth? So it gets into the United States, you said through California. We know Texas, I mean, just by watching the news, Texas, like by land, especially is a way to smuggle.
We had someone on our radio show the other day that did say that, fentanyl started most of the overdoses and stuff was started in the East Coast. That's where they were seeing it, like more the New York area. But the past, like Ashley was saying, 2 years, it has just kind of just crossed the nation. So it's just interesting to me that it was kind of started over in New York and now it's made itself to the West Coast, and that's where it's higher. It's interesting.
And then, of course, now it's no longer a coastal problem.
Yeah, no, it's everywhere.
It's everywhere. And did you talk about like the rainbow, like exactly the importance of rainbow fentanyl? Okay. No.
I did want to add that because I was reading more about the rainbow fentanyl, and Ashley was saying that the kids think they're taking a Xanax or a oh my gosh.
Percocet. How do you say it?
Percocet.
Percocet. Or like any of those. The articles that I were reading said that the rainbow fentanyl was supposed to mimic those. Because they started, I guess, changing the colors for the like Xanax, medical Xanax, or Percocet, or the others. Adderall was another one.
Oh, so like pharmaceutically, they've started changing those colors, and therefore for fentanyl, they've also now, like when fentanyl is in those pills, they will also change the colors to mimic that. Is that what you're?
Yeah, that's what the articles were saying. They were trying to make it look like the real thing because they started changing the colors of the actual medicines.
So there was a study that I found that since August, so literally just 2 months ago, the DEA and law enforcement has seized brightly colored fentanyl and fentanyl pills in 26 states. I don't know which states those were, but that's when they called them rainbow fentanyl because it appeared to be like a new method of it being distributed and just its appearance. And yeah, it was just brightly colored fentanyl pills. And yeah.
So where are youth most likely to cross these or just any version of fentanyl. Like we know we've already talked about the risks of, just like accidents and packaging and things like that. But yeah, like day to day, 365 days a year, like we know that there are risks, and where are those?
So I think most parents, we think of the stereotypical drug dealer in a dark alley. And that's, unfortunately, really not where our youth are finding these drugs. We warn our kids not to talk to strangers and stranger danger, and that works. But the problem is most of our youth are finding and experimenting with drugs, the first time with either siblings or friends at school because of peer pressure. A lot of times it's from family, like younger, maybe uncle, aunt, or even cousins. So I think that families, parents need to have those conversations with their kids, that it's not as much the stranger danger, because I think our youth are smart, and we know, I think we kind of put that into our kids' heads, but they don't know that it's going to come from somebody that they do actually trust, or, that they feel pressure that they need to experiment. And then I think that's kind of where our kids first maybe experiment, but then addiction does take place, especially the younger that kids experiment. There's more likely a chance that they become addicted. And then they can really find it anywhere. It is so dangerous because they can go on the internet, Snapchat, the social media forums. I've heard that there's kids that are getting paid like a side gig to post for these drug dealers on these apps. So it's almost, making it easier for the youth to find it, and for the drug dealers, because they're not having to be on the streets. They can just do it from anywhere.
And it's that peer messaging. It almost sounds like it's like somebody that looks friendly,
right.
And it's your age. And
and they're literally getting to make the commercials to target youth from other, kids that they think that it's cool because of them. I don't know. It's not coming from an adult's mouth this way. It's coming from other youth or young adults' mouths. And it's just so, kids are curious, and word of mouth travels so fast, and then they find out where to go. And it's very scary.
Mm-hmm. So kids are either it's becoming like normalized, or they're finding it in their own homes, or they're getting it from their friends or acquaintances, whether it's parties or just like small group hangouts or whatever, I guess, right? At school.
Yeah. And the thing is, our youth, they know about technology more than adults do. They do. It's changing every day. And these kids, they are adapting with that change. So they're really finding out the fastest way. I guess whenever we were kids, we never felt like we were left out of the loop, and it was all word of mouth. There was no phones, like that there is now. So now these kids are able to not only have the word of mouth and spread things just as fast, but do it even faster.
With social media and all that. Okay. So how can parents learn more about fentanyl and sort of this whole issue, and how can they address it with their kids and kind of prepare them? What are some resources out there that can kind of give parents the skills to deal with something that's new and that their parents probably didn't have to deal with when they were little or younger?
Makes sense. Well, I just did a simple Google search of resources for parents about fentanyl, and like a million pages popped up. So there's the information there. And there's some specific ones that I thought were really good. One in particular was with the University of Washington, and it's a long name, Addictions, Drug, and Alcohol Institute put together just like a super simple flyer of how to talk to your kids about fentanyl. But all the other websites plus this one is basically start off the conversation talking to your kids about it says pain, stress, and medications. So kind of taking a dive at the mental health aspect of it, of where your kids are at, how they're doing in school, things like that. And then if they don't already know, explain what fentanyl is and don't sugarcoat it, which is what all the websites are saying. Just be real with your kids. Tell them what it is. How is it dangerous? How could it affect them? How it affects their families? And then safe ways if they happen to see someone else that overdosed, like recognizing those signs. And it talks about Narcan, which I know we're going to talk about. But there's some specifically that, because I think almost every county has a resource page on their county website. But I really liked the one from Austin, Hayes County, because it's super detailed. It goes into what fentanyl is. It goes into the one pill can kill, what is it called? Prevention campaign.
Oh, yeah.
And it gives you fact sheets you can download, a simple what everybody needs to know about it. It gives you an actual, like, when kids are texting, the drug emojis decoded. Like, it gives you a whole thing. It's like a full-on page, but some of them surprise me because there's like Christmas trees and snowmen, and I'm like, what the heck? I would have just thought they were talking about Christmas. They have a whole, actually, I think it's 3 or 4 pages of just social media apps that teens are using, but also drug sellers are using for parents to be aware of. And it talks about Rainbow Fentanyl, of course. It shows you what a real and a fake prescription pill looks like, the street names for fentanyl, and just a bunch of information, which kind of blew my mind. I was like, this was a really thorough page. But the DEA has information. I noticed that schools are also starting to put up resources for parents on their websites. So Texas, there was one for Oregon. There was some for Colorado and just a whole bunch of other states. And of course, our own website, reachcouncil.org, has it too. But yeah, there's information everywhere. And I guess the main point was just being real with your kids and actually talking about it and not being scared to talk about it.
Awesome. Yeah, you mentioned Narcan, and I know, I mean, 5-6 years ago, Narcan was like barely, known about, like, from the average person, that wasn't like EMS or like had a medical career of some sort. But now the Surgeon General is recommending that everyone has Narcan as part of their first aid kit, right? Or their like emergency kit. Like you would have Band-Aids and burn cream, and then you could have like for those like things that hopefully never happen, would be like Narcan, or stuff like but I don't know, Erica, you mentioned you did a bit of research on Narcan. Do you want to kind of go into that and kind of tell that?
And I agree. I think that the chances of you coming across somebody that has an overdose as opposed to someone that goes down in a way of needing a defibrillator is almost more. You're much more likely to come across somebody with an overdose. So I think it should be readily available. I think that would be a great thing, especially for anybody that's around youth. It seems to be the younger population that's using fentanyl or unknowingly using fentanyl and having that overdose. And it's very easy to use. I know that before, people were very intimidated, but there are things like the Good Samaritan law that keep others from getting in trouble for, doing more harm than good. People have been concerned about that. And 2 to 3 minutes usually is all it takes for that Narcan to become effective. And for those that don't know, naloxone would be the generic branding or the generic name for Narcan. But it's also important to still get that emergency help. I know, maybe the kids don't want to get in trouble, but this is something that they really, really need to still take in. And get emergency help, call someone, have somebody on the way. But Narcan can be used to reverse the effects of the opioids by blocking those receptors. So it's only a temporary fix. It is not, meant to reverse and to, just keep going or however. So it is important to get that emergency help because they can go ahead and relapse. It can be short term, have them come around and start breathing again for 12 minutes.
Hey,
maybe
Erica,
20.
what is it? Is it like a drop, a nasal spray? What is Narcan?
Actually now they are making it in a nasal spray. So it's super easy for anyone to administer, just by putting in the nostril, squirting each side into the nostril. Very simple. And there are no ill effects if they misdiagnosed. I mean, if you see someone go down and they're young and they're not breathing, that's one of the things that it would likely be. And even if it wasn't an opioid overdose, then they're not doing any harm by going ahead and administering that Narcan. But it's always good to put them on their side, just to make sure if they were to vomit that they don't aspirate and cause pneumonia, taking that into their lung.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Thank you. Any other anything else that we need to say, I guess, about Narcan or what it is, or
I would just really like to see our kids be able to have access to that, like you said, maybe keep some in, more accessible situations like parties. I mean, we hope that our kids aren't using, we hope that their friends don't use, but, like you've said, it only takes one pill. So if they unknowingly ingest an Adderall and it has, fentanyl in it and they OD, gosh, I would really hope that somebody had Narcan to give them the best opportunity to recover.
Mm-hmm. And then just in case anybody, is interested in getting Narcan for their home or like kind of physical materials like pamphlets or any other information, or just needs a referral, like, is kind of concerned about their kid and wants to know like next steps and everything, please reach out to us. We have Narcan. We have, parent handbooks that go into a lot of these issues. And then we can get you connected with, some help like in the community for your child or anyone that you may be concerned about. And all you have to do is email info@reachcouncil.org, and we will get you connected with the right person if you reach out to that email. And is there any last words about fentanyl, Halloween, anything anybody wants to say? Or are we good to end it? I think Nikki.
I think we're good. I just want to remind families to have these conversations with their kids. It's better to talk about these hard things than the kids find out from somewhere else. And I think the best way to start talking to kids about drugs in general is just to start with prevention and talk about brain development and how important it is that kids don't take anything that can affect that, because they want to be smarter. And that's kind of, it's not a scare tactic, it's the truth, but it does work to teach our youth to stay away from drugs. Just wanted to add that with the parent in me.
And okay, I guess I can also end without saying, if you're interested in this issue and others affecting our youth and community, you can also join our coalition and Reach Across Johnson County. And our meetings happen just about every month. And you can all reach out to that email that we gave you if you are also interested in becoming more a part of the solution in our community and the change that we need to. But yeah, have a great day, everybody. Have a happy and safe Halloween and a beautiful rest of your October.
Bye.
Bye-bye.